There it is. That magical music. You know what? Honestly, I don't think this is the same music that played when this game started up in 2006. I feel like it was a different intro. It probably was. I'll have to research this. I don't feel like it's the same, but I will tell you, in all of my many years of in and out with this game, this screen right here, it's just, it's like a beautiful piece of my history. Alright, so what's up guys? It's Andy. This is Andrican Gaming. And I'm doing something a little different tonight. Something that I've actually never done before. First of all, because this is my first ever PC recording. You guys may or may not know, but almost every time that me and the guys have ever done any kind of game content, it's always been on the PlayStation 4. And we really enjoy playing together on PS4 because not all of my friends have a game-ready rig. And to be completely honest with you, I don't either. This computer is not the highest quality PC out there by any stretch of the imagination. But the good news is when the game that you're playing comes from 2002, it is not complicated to have a gaming-ready rig. And so you may ask, Andy, okay, then why aren't your friends playing with you on this nostalgia trip of yours? Well, I'm older than most of my friends. And being the old timer in the group, I remember when this game was brand new, and it was the change of an era for me because I spent the majority of my childhood on a Nintendo and a Super Nintendo, and I remember, this will be a really a big stretch, and some of you guys may or may not even disown me for this. My first Final Fantasy game was Final Fantasy Mystic Quest on the Super Nintendo. And I didn't even own a Super Nintendo, but my cousin had one, and he was older than me, and so my aunt used to make him play with me, and he would get bored with playing with his little cousin, so he would give me the Super Nintendo controller and tell me to just sit there and play while he went and hung out with his older, cooler friends. And so I spent a lot of time with Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, which is highly regarded as being one of the worst Final Fantasy games ever made. But it was my gateway drug into this incredible series. And contrary to what you guys see on our channel normally, I do love survival games. And survival games have kind of become one of my new favorite things. But MMOs have been my drug of choice for a really, really long time. Well, since I'd say 2003. It started with this game right here. I played it for years. Many, many unhealthy hours dumped into this game. And so I'm going to start a mini-series. It's probably just going to be me. And I want to share with you guys some of my memories and some of the reasons that I love this game. So there are a lot of people on YouTube that do nostalgia videos for Final Fantasy XI. So what I'd like to do is give you some compare and contrast type stuff of what it was versus what it is, the things that made me love it then and the things that make me love it now. And I will tell you that at least once a year since probably 2006, somewhere in that ballpark, at least once a year I resub to this game and I play it again just for the nostalgia trip. But I've been watching a lot of videos lately. There's an incredible YouTuber out there that goes by Hunting for Games, and he does just tons of Final Fantasy XI content, which is incredible, and it hits me right in my feels hole every single time. Yeah, that's weird. Sorry. But anyway, I absolutely love his content, and if he ever sees these videos, shout out, Hunt for Games. You're incredible. You inspire me. But regardless, so I watch his videos during the day, and every time I hear the music, and I know he identifies with that, every time you hear the music for this game, or every time I see a picture, like some scratch art or something of an Elvan wearing that paladin armor, that classic Iron Musketeer paladin armor, I get the itch, and I have to go back. So I'm going to share my Final Fantasy story, my Final Fantasy XI story with you guys. and we're going to play some. And I am going to try to knock out as much of the story content in this game as I possibly can. Now, I will tell you, when I resubbed the last time last year, I started a new character, named him Andrigan, which was not the case in my original gaming history. Andrigan didn't come along until I started playing World of Warcraft. So my original character's name was Mardigan in this game because I was a huge Willow fan as a child. And so I resubbed last year, and I started a brand new character to test out all the Rhapsody stuff and to see what that was all about, and to really have an opportunity to go through a lot of the storyline. I did a lot of it, but then I can't remember what game came out. Stormblood, actually. Final Fantasy XIV, Stormblood came out, and I am obsessed with the Samurai class in this game. And so when Stormblood announced that they were going to have a Samurai class, I just lost my proverbial crap and had to try it out. And so I went over to Stormblood and had some buddies that were playing. Ace, that plays Ark with us, he was playing. And so we played together on Stormblood for a while. Really enjoyed it. But I will tell you something, and it's going to play a huge part into this game as well. Community is such a huge deal for me. And if I don't have a good, solid community in a game that I'm talking to and I'm hanging out with and I'm doing content with, I really can't stick with a game. And the unfortunate position I find myself in a lot of times is most of my friends end up coming down to a game after I've found it and played it and enjoyed it, and I bug them so much. I'm like, guys, you got to try this game. You got to play this game. It's amazing. And then by the time they come over and they start playing it, I'm on to the next game. Trip calls me a game whore, which, to be fair, I can see his perspective in that. So I'm going to try to stick with this game this time. All those little boxes over on the right-hand side of the screen that you see right now, Rise of L'Art, Chains of Promethea, Treasures of Adur-Agan, Weaves of the Goddess, so on and so forth, all those are either expansion packs or additional content. The Crystalline Prophecy, Moogle Kupo Tat, however you want to say that. I'm going to tell you something right now. Pronunciation of things, just things in general in this game. I don't know what the people that designed this game were smoking when they just came up with some of the monster and the equipment and the area names, but they are only for like alien tongues. I can't even come close. But regardless, Shantotto Ascension, those were all like story boosters. They weren't really full-blown expansion packs, but they were great little stories that I've never played. I've never tried them. Visions of Viscia, Scars, and Heroes of Viscia, those were all also smaller additions to the game, but they did bring the 99 level cap from 75 originally. We'll get into that later. And they were regarded as a turning point in this game, and what really, some people say changed it for the better, some people will say began to kill the game. But Abyssea was a big deal, and I don't know a lot about that. I know what I've heard, what I've read, but I have not experienced a lot of that because I came along and started playing again in True after the Abyssea content had gone live and the level cap had been raised to 99, the ground tomes and things like that had been added, which really made the game more solo friendly, which is really, really weird. Again, another topic we'll get into later. And then Seekers of Adelin came along. I'll be completely honest. Other than a couple of accidentally triggered cutscenes, I have not experienced any Seekers of Adelin content whatsoever. So I will tell you guys, I have a great knowledge base of this game in past years, but it is very limited in the fact that I played it passionately when Sky and Sea were a thing. Okay, when dropping Kirin was the biggest, baddest thing you could do in the game. And that was in 2006 era. And so my knowledge in those later years after that is very skewed. And I am excited to learn. I'm excited to dig in and hopefully meet some folks and create a social aspect in this game that maybe I can learn some new things. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take some sections of the game and just kind of explain to you guys as I'm playing. You can see a little bit of gameplay, what my history is with this game. So let's jump in. And I will tell you guys, you have to bear in mind, this is a 2002 video game originally. See, there's Mardigan. There's my guy, my original from the Valefor server, represent. And I actually did jump back over to him for a little while periodically, but he the Veil 4 server had basically gotten emptied out for the most part, and all the large population that's left in the game migrated over to the Astra server. So I created this guy right here, which is almost a carbon duplicate of Mardigan, on the Astra server, and that's where I call home now. I don't have an active link shell because I'm just coming back. Matter of fact, I just resubbed to the game 2 days ago. So I don't really know people. I haven't found a link shell, which is this game's version of guilds, to get involved with. Pretty much all I've been doing is leveling, just trying to get my bearings back. So first thing that you'll notice in this game is, wow, them graphics though. And yes, it's dated. I mean, there's no way around that. But I just absolutely love the art style. Right now you would say, wow, this is hideous, but in 2003, 2004 era, when a lot of the U.S. As a whole was coming into the game and starting to learn what Final Fantasy XI was, this was some cutting edge stuff. This was incredible. So, I guess it's the rose-tinted glasses effect. I can't help that. I still love it. It's still a beautiful thing to me. So I will show you, but the art direction in the game is absolutely beautiful. Now, I do want to share with you a couple of the negative things. Where am I going? I don't know where I'm going. So a couple of things about this game is the controls were created in a time when hotbars and ability sheets and all that stuff were not even a thing. This was before the World of Warcraft era. And so this is what's crazy. I'm going to walk you through this real quick, okay? So you notice on the HUD, for the most part, the UI, is very minimalistic in its essence. So the control scheme is very, very confusing in this game, and it can be a huge turn-off to people right up front. So instantly, when I open the game, anytime I resub and have to reset everything, I come over here to this configure menu, and under miscellaneous 2, there's a couple of different options here. So you got keyboard full, which is a terrible idea because it makes the arrow keys your driving keys, which is just a nightmare. I always use compact 1. As you can see there, WASD for movement, which is typical for most gamers. So you've got a handful of other little things, but the big thing that changes is once you activate that, your middle scroll wheel now becomes your opening menu. So it opens your menus, and the more you bump it, you've got 2 different menus that you cycle through here, okay? So if you want to see what kind of abilities you have, here are your traits, and they're all right here with little mini descriptions up there at the top left, okay? I know, archaic. How could anyone play this game? So job abilities. Right now I'm playing Thief, which is probably my second favorite class in this game. And I also have some abilities down here that are not very Thief-like. Waltzes, jigs, steps. What is that? Well, one of the really unique things about Final Fantasy XI is that in the same vein as Final Fantasy Tactics, I guess you would say, Final Fantasy XI allowed you to take a main job. I'll show you right here. Oh, check it out. Somebody riding a crab. That's interesting. Mounts. Another thing that did not exist once upon a time in Final Fantasy XI. Okay, so you'll look up here, and you'll see right here it says level 80 Thief, level 40 Dancer. So what Final Fantasy XI allows you to do, similar to the concept of Final Fantasy Tactics, you pick your primary class, and then you have a secondary class that you have to level all on its own, and that secondary class can be half the level of your main class, okay? So when I'm level 99 on a specific job, my sub-job is level 49, I believe. So what it does is it allows you to use any of the abilities that subclass has, sub-job, as it's called in this game. It's one thing you have to get away from. They're not classes in this game, they're jobs. But that's one of the things that it allows you to do is you get every ability that other job has up to level, well, in this case 40, but in Mac's case 49. So what that does is that opens up an incredible amount of combinations of classes. When you take into account a game that's got 23 jobs, I think, total. I could be wrong on that. You can correct me in the comments if anybody sees this and wants to kill me there. I could count them, but that would take a long time. So, but I think it's somewhere 22, 23 jobs total. Now that all the expansions have gone through, you got yourself a lot of combination capabilities. So that was one really unique thing about this game is there was not really a meta. I mean, there were to certain extents, but for the most part, you played how you wanted to play. Now, in the old school days, yeah, there were certain job combinations that were more socially acceptable in in-game content, such as Sky and Sea and Dynamis and things like that. But if I wanted to roll a ninja primarily with a white mage sub to keep myself cured, I could do that. And there's nothing to not allow me to do that, which really just created this incredible just idea in my mind of what a video game could be. And I don't know any other game that's really done that. And if they have, I don't think they've done it successfully because I don't know of them. And I played a lot of MMOs. So I would say that this game really kind of broke the mold and all of that. And another thing that this game does that's very, very unique is the macro system. So as I said before, and you guys are going to have to forgive me, I'm going to do a little running around here, but I'm also just going to stop periodically to try to explain things because I don't multitask well. So another thing that this game did that was unique is this was in an era before hotbars existed, okay? So normally if this were a game such as World of Warcraft, I use that because I played World of Warcraft for years and years and years as well, and that's probably my second favorite MMO on the face of the planet. So in a World of Warcraft, you would have a hotbar down here, right? And your 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth keys would associate to that hotbar. Now, I play with a Razer Naga mouse. I wouldn't play without one. I've become completely spoiled and cannot play without one at this point in my life. But the great part about the Razer Naga is that the mouse actually has the 1 through 12 keys on the side where your thumb is. So once you've adapted to using those keys, hotbars become a cinch. You don't even have to take your hands off WSAD. All of your work goes on right there on your thumb on your right hand or left hand if you're left-handed. So what was unique about this game is the hotbar is actually these macros. So you see this bar up here. I'm holding the control button right now, and now I'm holding the alt button. So what you had to do, and this is how old school this is, you actually had to go in and create string macros to do things in the game. So let's look. So okay, right now I have a string macro called SATA. All right, which is sneak attack, trick attack, which is actually wrong. Let's fix that. This is actually just a sneak attack. ATT. We'll just do that. Okay, so what this ability does is it's a thief ability that allows my next attack from behind the enemy to do critical damage, like huge amounts of critical damage. Now, when you couple that with some of the other abilities in the game, the byproduct can be immense, okay? Giant numbers, which is one of my favorite reasons to play Thief. That was one of my favorite parts about Thief, was just those huge critical hits with weapon skills, all right? So in other games, you would just take sneak attack, drag it down to your hotbar, and bam, Bob's your uncle. Well, in Final Fantasy XI, you have to actually create a string command. So /JA, that stands for job ability, quotation marks, sneak attack. Now, I will tell you, is this going to aggro me? Is he going to? I don't think. Well, let's see what he's... This is another unique thing we'll get to later. You have to check mobs to find out. They don't just have... Yeah, it's too weak. He's not going to attack me. He's too weak. So I'll get to that in a moment. So yeah, you had to create these string commands to use your abilities. So let's get back to where I was. I'm sorry. I got a little nervous there. All right, so JA, because it's a job ability, all right, in quotation marks. Then you put the ability's name. Now, your spaces and your capitalization better be on point, because if it's not, the macros are not going to work. So quotations, sneak attack, in quotations. Then you had to do, what do they call these? I'm just going to call them greater than or less than. There's probably a more practical name, but I don't math well. So the opening sign, me, because the ability is used on me. And let me tell you, that gets really confusing at times because there are some abilities that you would think were used on target that are used on yourself and vice versa. So yeah, that's a thing. And you close it out. So now what happens is if I want to use that ability, I hold the Alt key and I hit 1. And like magic, bam, I use sneak attack. with them good old school graphics. Gotta love it. All right, so getting back to so that's macros. That's your hotbars. That's how that works. So I will tell you that anytime you decide to start playing the game again, you have to go through and rewrite macros for every single job, and it can be daunting. There have been times when I paid the subscription, logged back into the game, realized all my macros are gone, and I had to rewrite all of them, and just gave up. I was like, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. It is worth it, by the way, but that's just where my mind was at the time. So I will tell you, the macro situation can be daunting, but after you've written enough, you get to the point where it's just like, it is what it is. It's not that big a deal. So anyhow, that is a thing to keep in mind. And you do have to create macros for each job. So you do have this book here. All right, so when we go to the macros, all right, see all these different books. You can rename those to the job that you're on. And you just like see if I wanted to use Dancer, I would go to that and hit confirm, and that would put my Dancer macros on, because Thief and Dancer have all I really played as since I've been back in the game. So anyway, that's macros in a nutshell. So next thing we want to talk about is combat. And combat, again, is a very different animal than it was or would be considered now in an MMO. With things like Blade and Soul, Black Desert Online, these action combat games that are just so popular right now, a combat system like Final Fantasy XI's would quite honestly probably drive somebody insane. But I'm going to show it to you because I still love it regardless. So I'm targeting the enemy. First off, you'll notice that there's no level above the enemy. Its name is just yellow like every other enemy in the game. So how do you know if it's going to attack you? How do you know if it's harder level than what you can handle? So when you click on these guys, there's a little button right here that says check. All right, so see this guy, this catapulter, he's too weak to be worthwhile, which means I can probably just, slap him around a little bit and he's done. But here's the thing. This game in its original form was so crazy that you would target things and check them and they would be too weak to be worthwhile and they would still mop the floor with you because this game was designed for parties of 6 players. This game, in its original format, forced you to play with other people. And that's something that I really think is gone in the MMO environment of today. I can get on World of Warcraft, and I can quite literally level from 1 to 110 for another 2 months, and then it's going to be to 120. So I could level from 1 to max, never having interacted with another human being. Okay? And then I can also queue up for raids and dungeons without really having to interact with anybody. I just hit buttons. Now, they may try to speak to me. It's my choice whether or not I speak back. But I don't have to socially interact with anyone. In Final Fantasy XI, in its original format, I would stand in a city with this little icon above my head right here. There's a little green exclamation point with a black background. And I would stand for hours either shouting that I was looking for a group in the town to see if someone would recruit me into their party, or I'd start my own party because someone that I was good friends with back then had a healer, and I was a paladin tank at the time. We would start our own party and recruit other people into our group, which was insane. Not a lot of people had that convenience. But if you were just a damage dealer, in other games it's called DPSs. In Final Fantasy it's called DDs, damage dealers. But if you were a damage dealer, if you were a thief or a monk or a dragoon or a samurai, you were at the mercy of whether or not there were tanks and healers online that were willing to go into the party. Another major problem was mana consumption. Fights were really slow paced, okay? It would take 6 people on one enemy and you just chain them one after the other, and that's how you got experience points. There weren't quests. Now you've got records of eminence, you've got the tomes, you've got the ability to use trusts, which is something else we'll get into. None of that existed back then. And so you had to stand and wait for somebody to either recruit you, or you did your own recruiting and hope that you got a decent party. And I will tell you, on more than one occasion, I would get into a party and it would last for 15 minutes and someone would go AFK or get disconnected, and that was it. That was 3 or 4 hours worth of standing around waiting for a good group wasted. So it was very time consuming. It was not for the people with lives, which I didn't have back then. Yay. So, all right, all that started off talking about combat. So let's get back to combat. I'm going to show you how the pacing works on combat so you can just see. All right, so I can click on him and I can go to attack, but the easiest way to do it is just to hit Control A. And that's going to enter us into combat. Now, first thing you'll notice, I'm locked onto him. Okay, I'm locked onto him. I'm going to face him. I'm going to circle him. I can hit H, and it'll unlock me, and I can run around free. Hit H again, it'll lock back on him. And that seems stupid, but it's actually kind of convenient because it keeps you targeted on the mob unless you don't want to be. So, we're going to poke him. All right. Yeah, okay. Doing less damage than I anticipated for a too weak to be worthwhile enemy. And this is combat. You literally, I mean, I've got some abilities I probably could be using. I've got, let's see, I've got Drain Samba that I can use. That lets me drain a little bit of his health away as I'm fighting, which is nice. As you can see up here, I'm a little lower than I should be, so there we go. See the little blue bubbles? That's a fancy effect. Yeah, good stuff. So, but yeah, this is combat right here. And you just multiply the excitement by how many people were... Oh, I got a triple attack there. Did you see that? That was beautiful. Alright, so I'm going to pull... Oh, look at that. I got a maple shield. I can sell that later. Actually, my inventory is probably completely full, which is a whole nother video. We'll get into the inventory system and how convoluted that is, because I fully intend on doing the Gobby Bag quests in a video so that you can see how that works. And, oh... I am using my Dama Mantle, and I should be using a Cerberus Mantle. That's hilarious. So I've got a level 18 back piece on when I could be using this fancy stat boosted one. Yeah, anyway, my mistake. Alright, so one more thing I'm going to do. I'm going to show you what a weapon skill looks like. And so here's what we're going to do. That ability we had earlier, Sneak Attack, we're going to use that. And then we're going to use Sharp Bite. Nope, I don't think I got it off fast enough, but there you go. That's a weapon skill, 1,348 damage. Big damage for me. I know there's probably people that play this game out there going, oh my god, you're a sad, pathetic man. But I'm only level 80, so I'm calling that a win. Alright, so, you know what? I think we've probably gone far enough with this for tonight. And this is going to be a very, very long, drawn-out thing for me. I'm just letting you guys know. I do love this game. But yeah, I'll be honest with you, I want to get on and play for a little while right now, and so I want to be done with the recording. So, to summarize, I would say if you're interested in the insanely dated mechanics of an old game that has a seriously tender spot in thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people's hearts, then check the series out. I'm probably going to keep the rest of the videos a little more streamlined than this. This one was kind of all over the place because it is my first solo recording and my first PC recording. But I want to show you guys what this is all about. I want more people to appreciate this game in 2018 because it is still an incredible game if you can get past some of the major hurdles, like the control scheme, which can be really complicated, but I'm going to do a tutorial on that and how to make that simpler. If you can get past the slow combat, which to me is more methodical than slow, I enjoy it, but if you're an action combat person, maybe you wouldn't necessarily like this. There are a lot of barriers, but I will tell you that this probably has some of the best storytelling out of any Final Fantasy game that I've ever played. So I would encourage you to check it out and just tell me what you think, and we'll talk about it, and hopefully the next video will be quite a bit better than this one. But until then, Andrew Gaming, thank you guys. You're awesome. Later.